Firstly, Dafe, just your views on the markets. When we're seeing the market lose over 500 points, is it because investors are saying we're taking a wait-and-see approach ahead of the elections?
Yeah, what we noticed is that we saw that a lot of clients are buying money from the interbank markets, but essentially most of the people that are buying are the BDC guys and for the unconfirmed LCs. So that is really what has been putting a lot of pressure. For those that are legit, that have been going to the CBN window, we saw that CBN have been filling most of their demands. And so even at this week alone, CBN has sold $800 million to the market.
The naira is at just over 157 naira to the dollar. How do you explain the pressure that's currently being felt on the currency?
At 157 to a dollar is a lot of depreciation, considering that about 3 weeks ago we were at 152. That is about 5 naira depreciation. But the 3% ban that from central bank is applicable to only the central bank exchange rates alone. Though we have seen also that from the foreign investors, because of the sales of equities, we've seen also a lot of repatriations from their end.
There's talk that the CBN is planning to introduce a forward market for Forex. Your views on this and whether or not it would help the naira in any way?
It's definitely going to help the naira in a lot of ways. With the forward market coming up, you're going to see that clients that instead of bringing up their forward obligation to the spot market, they're going to access the CBN window, and then CBN is going to provide both for 30, 60, and 90 days. And so it's going to be a lot of liquidity that will be added to the existing spot WDAs.
Okay, we're going into a Monetary Policy Committee meeting early next week. Do you have any expectations as to what the central bank might decide? And talk to us about bond deals in this regard.
Yeah, and from the MPC meeting, our expectation is that there's probably going to be another rate hike, considering the fact that the pressure continue to mount on naira. The naira exchange rate at the interbank market is at 157. And then the inflation, notwithstanding the fact that the inflation dropped slightly in the last month, but we're expecting that the projection for inflation is also still going to go up. So with all of this, we expect a hike.
We've been reporting earlier on about the auctions that have been held in recent days for the 3- and 5-year bonds, where the government is trying to sell about 60 billion naira. Any results out yet?
Yeah, the result was out yesterday. The 3 years was a fresh issue of 30 billion, and it's printed at the 3 years printed at 10.5, and then the 5 years printed at 12%. But at the secondary market today, both of them are already trading at a discount.
The elections are coming up, as I mentioned earlier on. Lots of investors obviously, concerned about the conduct of these elections and what the results will be ultimately. Is that having an influence on bonds?
Definitely it is having an influence on dollar. Usually for Africa, when the election is coming up, you're going to see a lot of pressure on the exchange. But our own is peculiar because both, you see that notwithstanding the fact that the yield on the securities are up, it's a good time for the offshore guys to participate. But because of the uncertainty in the election, you see them that they are getting out of both the equity and the bonds market. So definitely the election is going to play a negative role.
Well, what should be playing a positive role is the inflation figures that came out for February at 11.1%. It's better than the 12% we'd seen year on year for January.
Yeah, the secondary market reacted to this in the long end of the curve. You couldn't really see that at this auction because 20-year was not issued, but from the secondary market, you saw that immediately after the inflation figure came out, the yield on the 20 years actually came down. But in anticipation of the MPC and possible rate hike, you see that the rate also still went back up.
Okay, and just very quickly, I mean, obviously Nigeria is a major oil exporter, so good oil prices should be buoyant by way of foreign exchange reserves and just perceptions of this market with this good inflation number as well. What's that likely to do for the naira going forward?
We see that between February and now, we saw that there have been a substantial growth in the reserve. So because of the oil price, the production has been stable, and then because of the high oil prices, we see that the reserve also has continued to grow. But in terms of the effect on exchange, it hasn't had that positive effect on exchange because of election. So I believe that immediately after the election, you're going to see a lot of appreciation of the currency.